We've had a break. England have had a break. The two teams have had a break. England have been off to Abu Dhabi. How are you faring? How's your break been? You had a nice time?
Yeah, we didn't go to Abu Dhabi. Stayed in Mumbai, and any cricket journalist worth his salt can go to Mumbai and find something to write about. I did a feature with Jaswal's coach. Went to see him, and did a piece on the Bombay Gymkhana and the first ever Test match between India and England in 1933. So yeah, I'm first with the 90-year-old news.
And we've made it here to Rajkot, which is in the state of Gujarat. We're not far away from the border with Pakistan. And this ground, actually, when some people will be tuning in to look at the cricket, to see the cricket, they'll think it's a bit familiar, won't they? Because we're sitting in a press box that is modelled on Lord's.
Absolutely. The media centre is one of those spaceship designs. I'd say it's a bit bigger than Lord's, actually, for the press. There's a big dining area out the back and a press conference room downstairs. And it's a pretty new stadium as well, and it's solar powered, I believe, too, which they have a lot of sun in Rajkot, so you can understand why.
And that's important as well, because we think that the temperature over the weekend's going to touch 35 degrees. England have just been going through their warm-ups. I can just see Johnny Bairstow's been doing some wicket-keeping practices, walking off the outfield with Jeetan Patel, the spin bowling coach. You were here when England played 8 years ago, Nick. It was a high-scoring game, a drawn game. That's important because it's fed into England's selection. They've brought in Mark Wood for Shoaib Bashir, and Ben Stokes said he was drawing on that experience from 8 years ago, a game that he played in.
Yes, he scored 100 in that match. It was pretty dull, actually, for most of it, and it quickened up at the end like matches traditionally do in India and in Pakistan. This England team just have different mindsets to what that side had then. Then it was don't lose first and then see where we are. With these guys, it's let's try and win first. And that gives them a great chance of producing a result on a flat pitch. We spoke to Stokes yesterday, and I asked him if he thought it would be a little bit like Rawalpindi last year. He wouldn't really be drawn on it, but we do feel that could be the case when he had to accelerate the game and call on all his sort of tactical brilliance to do it.
So let's hear from the England captain then. I spoke to him and I started by asking why England have made that change to bring in the pace of Mark Wood for the off-spin of Shoaib Bashir.
Yeah, well, look, I think it's every decision we made in this test, it's obviously we pick an 11 of what we feel is going to give us the best chance, and this week looking at the wicket and taking a bit of information from the last test match we played here, we feel bringing in another seamer is going to give us the best chance.
So what have you seen in that pitch, and what information have you taken from the last test match you played here?
Yeah, so I know it was a very long time ago when we played here, but it looks just a good wicket, to be honest. Yesterday it actually looked quite English. A little bit different today, but still, we weren't quite sure on what we were going to do in terms of team, but today sort of, made us realise that, we're definitely going to go with two seamers. I think it just looks a good wicket, and it's a bit platey, so you never know over the 5 days that's due to play. Those plates, might become a little bit uneven, and I remember there being a little bit of reverse swing here, which obviously brings Woody into the game, and obviously Jimmy as well.
So Rayan Ahmed plays. Are you fed up about thinking about people's visas?
Yeah, it's been it's been an issue that's sort of, rather than blaming stuff, we just sort of had to find solutions for it. Obviously with this most recent one with Rayan, I think the guys at the airport did a great job in getting him a 72-hour visa, and then everyone, at the BCCI and in the English and the Indian government did a great job to get Rayan his visa for the rest of the tour.
So Shoaib Bashir misses out. How have you communicated that news to him? How are you guys going to get around him over the next 5 days?
So Baz does all the good news and all the bad news, and I'm always there if the players want to come and have a chat after that. But look, I think Bash, what the job he did last week for us in his first game, I thought was outstanding. You can only pick 11. We're always going to pick the team that we best feel is going to give us a chance. But look, I think shouldn't be reading into anything about this. It's, as I said, we can only pick 11, and Woody coming in is something that we've gone for, but I think Bash is definitely going to have some more opportunities throughout the rest of this tour. I think he'll just take it in a stride, and he just loves being here on tour, and it'll be fine.
It's a big landmark for you, Ben, and I know you won't want a lot of fuss, but how are you feeling about reaching that 100th cap?
Just looking forward to getting the presentation done and dusted, and then just sort of everything can be on the cricket, to be honest. But look, it's obviously proud to say that I've been able to play part in 100 Test matches. Because it is quite a lot. It's a lot of warm-ups. But yeah, it's just one more game, and hopefully there's a lot more to come.
Do you ever reflect on what you've achieved? Do you ever think about your favourite times in an England shirt?
Oh, there's definitely been some great times in the England shirt. There's also been some not so great times in the England shirt as well, and I think that's what's great about professional sport. And one thing that I think I've been able to do is make sure that every day is a learning day, whether it be good or bad. But yeah, I think later down the line, when I'm a bit older and probably not playing anymore, is probably when I'll have sort of more of a chance maybe to reflect on everything that I've done on the field.
Favourite Test matches?
There's been a couple, but I think I judge what my performances are on what the outcome of the game is, and I think the Cape Town game in 2019 is probably up there with one of my favourites. Going to day 5, last hour of the game, and I had a good game as an all-rounder there. Took some catches, got some runs, and took some wickets, and we ended up winning. So yeah, that's sort of what I judge my personal performance on. Has it had an influence on us winning the game?
With everything that you've achieved on a field, with everything that you've done, some of the things that you've pulled off, do you know what you mean to England supporters, just what it means to them when you walk out to the middle or when you get the ball when that knee's in good shape? Do you know those sort of emotions that you stir in England fans?
I think so, yeah, and I think purely because of what the fans mean to us as players. We've got an unbelievable fan base and a support base wherever we go in the world. At home it's obviously incredible, but the support we get when we're on long tours away like India, we've always got a great fan base here, and we appreciate them so much. So I think you can feel that because of how appreciative we are as a group of the people who come out here and watch us and support us. Even through all the bad times as well. So yeah, I think you can have some kind of reference point to that.
Right, it's beautifully poised. It's 1-1. You've had a break for a week. It's hot. I think it's going to get hotter. It's all set up, isn't it, for this next week and these next 3 Test matches?
Yeah, it could be too hot, some might say. Yeah, look, I think 1-1's obviously it's a fair reflection of the cricket that's been played so far in the first 2 games. But obviously the focus is on this game and then everything after that. But something I've said quite a few times is that if we play to anywhere near our capabilities, then we're going to give ourselves a good chance of winning, and if we do play good cricket, then the results look after themselves.
Cheers, Ben. Congratulations. Good luck this week.
Cheers. Thank you.
So that was the England captain, Ben Stokes. Nick, England going with 2 seamers for the first time in this series. It feels like the right decision. Having seen the pitch, it looked like it had a little bit of green grass on it 2 days ago. It's not quite the same now. Could England have even played 2 seamers earlier in this series?
I think it would have been the right team to pick for the first Test and for the second Test, and definitely for the third Test. I think that they've been a little bit surprised by the pitches. I think they expected them to be ragging turners, and Hyderabad turned, but Vizag didn't, and this one they're not expecting it to be a slow turn, and I think that surprised them. I think when they arrived, I think they also accept that they find it quite hard to read Indian pitches, so have probably made a mistake by not picking the 2 seamers. It just gives them that little bit more control, doesn't it? And also a bit more of a threat with a new ball. We saw away Jaswal got off to a flyer in Vizag, scored 200, set up the win for India. I remember in the first Test when he faced Mark Wood, he flapped at one down the leg side, a bouncer, and they had that close Hawkeye review for the close review for the court down the leg side, and he nicked off to Jimmy Anderson in the second innings in Vizag. So I think they probably feel that Seam might help them knock him over early, especially after he struggled a bit in South Africa recently. So yeah, and we've seen reverse swing play a big part too, and both Jimmy and Mark Wood obviously experts at bowling reverse swing.
I suppose the interesting thing about England going with the 2 spinners is since the last Test we know that Jack Leach has been ruled out for the rest of the series, and so when England were coming here and they were thinking about if we are going to play 2 spinners, who are those 2 spinners going to be? So they've gone for Rayan Ahmed and Tom Hartley. I'm going to say I'm surprised at that from a bowling point of view. I thought they might have wanted Shoaib Bashir and Tom Hartley as 2 bowlers who could definitely offer control. Now, I know that England aren't necessarily about control. They want Rehan Ahmed because Stokes likes the way that he's always trying to take wickets. But let's say England lose the toss and find themselves bowling first on a hot day. Who's more likely to bowl in the first hour, Rehan Ahmed or Shoaib Bashir? And I think it's Bashir. Now, Joe Root could perform that role. We know that his bowling was hampered in the last test because of that finger injury that he sustained. We're led to believe that he's okay. What do you think? Is it more about Ahmed's batting? Is that why he's got the nod? I mean, I suppose he was the second spinner to Jack Leach going into this tour.
Yeah, he was the second spinner going to Jack Leach. Yes, his batting will have played a major part. I think he's certainly his character as well. They've seen something. He exudes the kind of confidence of a Test cricketer, even at the age of 19 and after only 3 games. And that's a natural thing, and that's promoted by Ben Stokes and Brendan McCullum's management of the team. It's a great opportunity for Rehan and for Tom Hartley because they perhaps offer more of an all-round option than Jack Leach does. And now Ben Stokes is a very loyal captain and friends with Jack, and he would obviously want to bring him back in next summer because he's not been dropped, he's just been injured. But perhaps these guys can perhaps push ahead and push their case of being the number 1 spinner at home.
What about the skipper then? This 100th Test match, he won't want a fuss. But it is a fantastic landmark for someone he's got one of the most storied careers, I guess, in English cricketing history. And I think you will have seen almost all of the previous 99, won't you?
That's right, yes. No, I mean, I think we're a lot more excited about it than he is. I mean, we asked him last night, didn't we, what do you make of 100th Test? And it's just a number. And he likened it to getting his 100 at Headingley, that he never actually celebrated that moment against Australia because the job wasn't done. He's not a man he's not a sentimental man, is he, when it comes to his own performance, and his cricket is all about the team. And when you look at those guys who have made 100 Test matches, Stokes has had one of the most intriguing stories of the lot. His troubles on and off the field. He's definitely a man of the sort of people, isn't he? He's kind of the way he carries himself. And his captaincy has been far better than anybody ever expected. His emotional intelligence, his empathy, the way he deals with his players is something I've never seen before. I can't actually think of a more fascinating figure now in British sport right now than Ben Stokes.
We have heard from Ben Stokes, and now it's time to hear from his mother, Deborah. She's been speaking to Jonathan Agnew about her son reaching 100 Tests for England.
Who'd have thought it? I mean, 100 Tests for England. I mean, you'd never have imagined that, I don't suppose. 10 years ago, 15 years ago?
Yeah, well, and also I felt like a really bad mother because it wasn't until you mentioned it that it was his 100th Test. But I will never, ever tell him that I wasn't aware.
I won't tell him, I promise you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, right.
But it must be quite, it must be quite hard, though, because you have this sort of remote relationship, don't you, with him? So that must be quite difficult for you, way down there in Christchurch.
Yeah, it is at times. Because I miss him, and I miss Claire, and I miss the kids. So, and the opportunity to be with them revolves around cricket, which I love. I love cricket, and but I am so incredibly proud of him. Sort of been through the ringer, shall we say, at times. I am really, really proud of the way that he has grown up to be able to be honest with people, be kind to people, and also I know that his being captain has really up the ante. And it's quite, and you're right, it is quite hard because normally I've got to go to work during the day and stay up all night and watch cricket all night. That's my
I was
life.
going to ask you that. I mean, literally, you just sit there all night in front of the television?
Oh, yes, and James, Ben's brother, does the same. So we're sort of messaging each other during the night, and his auntie Eileen, who is just, she just absolutely adores him, watches every single game that's on television. Yeah. So, so I'm a very proud mum.
I remember speaking to you, I think we phoned each other up on my way back from Headingley in 2019 when he just played that unbelievably heroic innings. I said to you, your son has become a national hero, which he was already. But I mean, can you feel it? Can you feel that just by watching on the telly so far away?
Well, I'll give you a story about the World Cup. This was, of course, when his dad was still with us. I spent the entire night out on the deck because I just could not watch it. And with Gerard inside saying, "Fred, get in here." I go, no, I can't. And it wasn't until the last moments that I managed to go in and watch the end of that game. And I know it sounds mad, but that's just the way it is. And like sometimes when I'm at the cricket in person, honestly, my stomach's got butterflies, when he comes out to bat. And so is Claire, and her and I are like this in the stand, Oh, and it's just crazy, just one of those things, yeah. And I was thinking about his innings, some of his really great innings before I came on with you, and I was trying to sort of identify the one that I felt was the best one, and I just couldn't, because there's but in the end, I lined them all up, and I think it was Headingley was the big one. Yeah, Headingley.
I'm glad he chose that, because that's been my favourite innings of his team. Yeah, we'll never see another Test match. We'll never see another Test match.
No, I don't think so.
So does he surprise you, Deb? I mean, for people who don't know Ben, will see this very strong, heavily tattooed fella who can look you in the eye. He's obviously tough. And yet, as you mentioned, he is a bit of a softie, really, isn't he?
Oh, yeah, like around the kids. And look, yes. And he has done some really, really amazing things, which a lot of people aren't aware of. And I'll give you one example. I know I'm actually probably not meant to, but I'm going to. Cumbria Cricket, they were raising funds for under 16s, I think it is, to go to Sri Lanka. As it happened, a friend of mine, his daughter plays in that team. He was telling me about it. He was really, really proud and all the rest of it. And so I told Ben, because Ben knows Eric, that's the father. And Ben said, "Oh, they've got to raise all that much money, Mum." And I went, "Yes." I said, "And they've got all these things to do and everything." And I hope he forgives me for telling you this, but he donated the bulk of the money, or a huge amount, so that those kids could get over there for that tour. And that is one of the things for me that is really, really important. He's so giving, and that's the loveliest trait he's got in my view.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you worry about him? I mean, he was sent back from an A tour, wasn't he, being a naughty boy?
Oh, yeah.
There was Bristol. I mean, were there times that you did worry about him?
Actually, no, not really. Always knew that. I mean, we always knew that Ben pushed boundaries, and when he was a youngster, he thought he was Ben Hur, so hence getting kicked off that tour. And of course, then there was the Bristol incident, which, we did an interview with what's I can't remember his name, but anyway, and one of the questions he asked me was, "Did you ever think that Ben wouldn't be here at that time after the Bristol incident?" And I just said, no, had no worries at all, because we knew that there was a lot more that didn't go into the papers, and we were very, very confident that Ben would be found not guilty, and he was. But it was in a very tough time, and Gerard and I, we would make sure we had good contact with the lawyers and everything else. And, people have called him so many different names and what have you, but, you just can't leave if you're walking past somebody who's a couple of, people who are just being just so awful, Ben would never walk by a situation like that. He would not. He hasn't been brought. He's been brought up to how would you describe it? Protect others who can't protect themselves.
And you have a very pastoral life, Deb, in what you do, caring as a grief counsellor. I mean, do you see part of that side of you in Ben as well, rather than this tough, tattooed, macho figure? I mean, is that kind of your? Can you see that in Ben?
Well, I'll just put you straight on my job role. So I work for victim support, and I'm in what is the homicide team. So my role is very, very varied with regard to victims of crime, and as I say, homicide in particular. So we walk beside these families through court events, and then getting into trials, and we have a lot of things that we can do to help people get through those times. So I'm not a counsellor, but my job is, for example, is to arrange counselling for those victims who are, suffering a loss and not doing so well.
Yeah. But it's a caring job. And my point is that you just see the way that the players respond to Ben now as captain. There is that that gentle side to him that the young players, particularly, I think, really, really enjoy.
Yes, yeah, I think so. And I mean, Ben's always been around sport. I think I've mentioned this before, that really basically Ben went to school to eat his lunch and play sport. and hey ho, it doesn't matter. Look where he is now. Yeah, he took some time to mature, but he's lasted the distance so far.
I've seen him be cruelly exposed in a spelling test for an England team night. I mean, things like that wouldn't necessarily be his forte.
No, not really. He did get an excellent in PE. So, but honestly, we always knew that there would that he would be his journey in life would be surrounded by sport, and I can recall him. He when we were living in England, and he'd been picked for a junior. It was just rugby league side,
right.
County one, I think it was. And I remember him ringing me and saying, "Oh, Mum," he said, "I don't think I want to do this anymore." He said, "So can you tell Dad?" And I said, "Why do I need to tell Dad?" Because he was worried that Jared wouldn't approve of that. But of course he did. And so that all worked out really well.
Jared had clearly a huge influence on Ben, wasn't he?
Yes. Oh, very much so. Yeah. And they spent a lot of time together. Like when I was away and in the job that I was in, I'd sometimes be away for 2-3 weeks at a time. And they were just great mates. Yeah. And of course,
how do you feel when he makes that sign when he does get 100? He makes that sign with the finger, doesn't he? Up to the heavens. How does that feel?
Oh, wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. And I hope he does it for the rest of his career every time he gets it done.
Just the last one, Deb. I mean, you must be so proud of him. But are you? I go to that point really about are you surprised about how he's turned out, or not at all? I mean, the way that this team has responded to him, the way that they clearly love playing for him, and the different way in which he's approached cricket. He and Brendan McCullum have sort of brought this very fresh air to it. Are you surprised by any of that, or did you sort of see that sort of coming?
Not really surprised. It's more a feeling of pride, because he has been through the ringer a bit, and social media can be very cruel at times. But he's got through all that, and he was very open and honest about him having to take a break. And We never had that, and that in time for me being over here, there wasn't very much I could do except talk to him when he wanted to talk, and but Claire's she's amazing, and the two kids, I mean, they can put a smile on his face as quick as look at you,
We'll turn our attention to the home side, and I've been speaking to the former India wicketkeeper Dinesh Karthik, who himself has been tuning up for the IPL.
So I went and practiced for a bit, getting ready for IPL. So that's been part of my preparations towards the tournament. And I've been doing this for some time now in between the test matches whenever there's a break. So this 1 week was nothing different. Just went and practiced a bit. And then I came to Chennai, which is where I stay for a couple of days before I head back to Rajkot.
I've missed talking to you. I feel like you've become my opening partner over the past couple of weeks. You play all the shots and I just try desperately to get it off the square. But I'm glad that you've been practicing because you might be needed in Rajkot the way things are going for India's middle order. With the latest being that KL Rahul is going to miss this test again. He missed out in Visakhapatnam with the injury he picked up during the first test. He's not fit to play in the third test. No Shreyas Iyer. He's been left out of the squad. So it looks like we're going to have a debut for either Devdutt Padikkal or Sarfaraz Khan.
It's not an ideal situation for Team India. I reckon this is probably the least experienced side they've put out on the park in a home series in a long, long time. If you do look at the batting order, just Rohit Sharma in the top order who's played a few games. Shubman Gill, still young in his test career, but has played 20-odd games. So the rest of it are very, very inexperienced. So it's quite the challenge. And they have a few decisions to make in terms of the 11 as well. Which way are they going to go? Who they're going to replace with whom? And there's a lot of spot up for grabs. The fact that KL Rahul is not part of it. So who's going to replace Shreyas Iyer? Ravindra Jadeja, if he's fit, who is he going to replace? Are they going to hold on to the same wicketkeeper? So are they going to play two medium pacers, Siraj and Bumrah? So there are quite a few questions that Team India would be pondering about.
Let's get into those questions then. And let's start with that middle order with Padikkal and Sarfaraz. Tell us about those players and what respectively they would bring to the team.
Two very different journeys. Sarfaraz Khan hails from Mumbai and he has been scoring runs, tons of runs is the right way to put it. He's been in some great form for the last 3-4 years, was averaging after the first 20-25 domestic games close to 85. And then he's dropped to about 70, which is not bad either. But he has been phenomenal in terms of how consistent he's been. So when he started his journey, he wasn't getting opportunities in Mumbai. He went to UP and played some cricket there. And then he's come back to Mumbai and then completely flourished and changed as a batter. Did phenomenally well for Mumbai. Scored tons of runs everywhere he went. And he's picked for India. He did well there as well. He is literally broken doors to be part of this Indian team. And he rightfully deserves an opportunity. Someone who from a very young age has been touted as a very, very good player. His dad has been his coach, Naushad Khan, for some time now. He has a younger brother called Mushir Khan, who played the recently concluded Under-19 World Cup, batted at 3, bowls a bit of left-arm spin, whereas Sarfaraz is one skill that way, just pure batting in the middle order, sweeps a lot against the spinners, which is a shot we haven't seen the Indians use too much. So, he'd be a welcome addition in terms of shot making skills, different to other batters in this Indian team. And Devdutt Padikkal, again, a very, very interesting journey. One who had touted as a big player coming from Karnataka, yet another state which has produced tons of cricketers, including the current Indian coach. Did really well at the start, then dropped off the last couple of years, went unnoticed. But again, this year, he has been in some red hot form. He has scored runs everywhere he's gone. He's done well in the domestic ODI comp, did well for India A, did well in the 4-day format of domestic cricket as well. So he's again rightfully on the spot, a left-hander. So that would be a very interesting addition. But I do think they'll go to Sarfaraz Khan first before they have a look at Devdutt Padikkal.
And the other thing that was coming out at the end of the test in Vizag, which took a lot of us of an English persuasion by surprise, were the reports that Jasprit Bumrah might be getting a rest here in Rajkot, or certainly at some point during the rest of the series. What did you make of that? Do you think we'll see Bumrah play all three of these last 3 tests?
I don't think Bumrah will play all 3 tests. Either take a break somewhere, though I don't think it will be the Rajkot test. I think he's going to play the Rajkot test because there's an 8-day break. He will come in and, again, do what he does best, which is to, reverse the ball and cause a lot of trouble for the opponent batters. Though I feel he's been playing a lot of cricket. We all know he's had a major injury, so he's become very, very careful, and he has a certain workload management that happens behind the scenes with his physios, and they have chalked out a plan for him as to how much cricket he can play, considering there's a lot of cricket to be played. The 3 test matches, followed it up with an IPL, then the World Cup soon after. So it's going to be a grueling 4 months for him, and he's going to play a bulk of it. So at some point, he will figure out how to manage his workload, which is always a challenge for a fast bowler. And I think he is in constant touch with his physiotherapist to figure out what's the best way to move forward. But I get a strong feeling that we wouldn't be seeing him in all 3 test matches, probably 2 out of the 3 for sure.
And having seen the pitch in Rajkot, it looks like the sort of surface he might be licking his lips over. There was a certain amount of green grass on there ahead of the game. What can we expect from this pitch? What can we expect from the conditions? Because also I've seen the weather forecast and it could touch 35 degrees over the weekend.
Let's not get fooled too much by the grass. I know it looks green and it's a pretty picture, but it's a pitch which will have a good amount of bounce for a start. It's a very fast outfield, good amount of bounce. Days 1 and 2, there will be a little bit for the fast bowlers. It'll carry probably, though I think 3, 4, 5, there will be turn. But the good part about Rajkot is with turn, there will be bounce as well. So it always makes playing spin very challenging. It will be a high-scoring ground, but also one where the bowler will always fancy his chance with the wickets. Looking at how last test match played, what Indian team is definitely making a conscious effort to do is not play on raging turners, which will make it, in a way, which will make the England spinners' inexperience being nullified a bit. They will probably play on pitches which is good, which will turn, but not too much, so that the skill of the Indian bowlers comes through as well. And Indian bowlers have got some good skill. Though you got to say, I think Stokes has led his set of spinners really well. One that a lot of captains around the world will have a look and say, wow, this is some serious captaincy here. So it makes for some interesting reading. Generally, we're used to seeing pitches which aid spin from day one and in a big way as well. Whereas these pitches, I think, are far more in favor of the batters as well, wherein if they apply themselves, you could see some runs being scored.
And just explain, Dinesh, as well, when a pitch does have bounce, like the pitch did have in Vizag, and like you're saying it's going to have in Rajkot, but the pitch didn't have in Hyderabad, when the ball bounces, how hard it is for a batter to sweep and reverse sweep, which we know England have had so much success with. It becomes so much harder, doesn't it, when the ball is bounced?
Correct. So let me give you a small idea to a lot of people listening to this. Just the composition of the pitch. So the pitch that we played in Hyderabad was completely black soil. So there's always a little lesser bounce. Now, the pitch that we played in Vizag was just 1 mm of black soil, which is the top layer. So beneath it was a lot more red soil. Hence, there was a little more bounce than Hyderabad. Rajkot is pure red soil pitch. So it will have a lot more bounce compared to both the pitches that we have played so far. And then the turn will be there as well. So with the bounce, what happens when you play sweep and reverse sweep is, the top pitch always becomes a factor. So there's always a worry. And if you do look at the stats of how many reverse sweeps or sweeps were played in Vizag compared to Hyderabad, it was a lot lesser. You saw the English players not use it as much. So it tells you that they are aware as well that this pitch has bounce. So they were reluctant to use it, which is understandable. And in Rajkot, that could be the case. But I wouldn't be surprised if they come out with the attitude where they felt that they put the bowlers, Indian bowlers, under a lot of pressure playing that shot in Hyderabad. So they might go down saying, let's try and play this shot, because at this point of time, the Indian bowlers seem to find a way to, they seem to struggle a bit to bowl to those kind of shots. So that could be a shot that will be employed by the English batters. Though I feel that the fact that there is bounce will keep the Indian spinners in play as well.
Thanks, Dinesh. Looking forward to catching up during the test.
Thanks, Stefan. Take care, mate.
Nick, we talked about this idea of India not necessarily being rattled, but certainly being given something to think about by England. You've been here a lot. What do you make of the way India have gone about taking on this challenge of the England team? I mention it, so frame it like that, because somehow it seems that England always get the opposition thinking about them these days?
I think they have been rattled, and I think England, it looked as if England made all the running in the last test, even though they lost. And chasing 399 in the fourth innings at India is fantasy, really. But England started that day with Shubman Gill saying, well, I think we've only got a 70-30 chance. Hang on a minute, you've got a 95-5 chance, really. So they've definitely got them very, very worried. They're also a team in transition as well, and they're missing some very big players, biggest of all in Virat Kohli, obviously, and he gives them that sort of edge that I think they've been lacking at times. Notice Ashwin was riling England a bit in the last test. Now, he didn't need to do that on the previous tour so much, but now he might have to start getting stuck into England a little bit in that respect. So I think they have got them rattled, and I think that that their selection has shown a little bit of panic. We're dropping Bharat after 2 tests, if that happens.
Shreyas has gone.
Shreyas has gone. Shubman Gill may have gone if he hadn't scored 100 in the last test. He was struggling for his place as well. Rohit's not in great form. So, yeah, I think they've got a few issues. Ashwin is going at 4 and over. That's never happened in a series before.
Before we go, how have you been getting around India?
Well, pretty easily. I find that the internal airlines have been much better than previous tours, and it's much easier to get around India than it was when I first came here. A few hairy tuk-tuk journeys. I love those.
Have you ever dabbled with the trains in this country?
Yes. Not on this tour, but yes, I've done a couple of train journeys. 93 tour, they had to do the entire tour by train, I think. That must have been a challenge. But
it is a challenge. I think even now it can have its challenges. And Phil Long, the Test Match Special statistician, he's taking it on across this series. He's out and about in India, travelling across the country on any and every mode of transport he can find. Something that sounds a bit like a Top Gear special. Here's Phil Long taking on India.
So it's now the morning after England's defeat here in Vizag, and I'm always one for an early start. So I'm here now on my way to the 3rd test in Rajkot. It's 5:45 in the morning at Vizag station, and I'm waiting for the Vard Bharat service to Secunderabad. Bit of a glimpse into the future, this one. It's India's newest train, and should, I say should, reach a high speed of around 140 kilometres an hour and get me to Secunderabad for the next part of my trip in around 8 hours. Well, things were going too well, I suppose. Vande Bharat arrived barely on time. I nipped across the road to a little travel agent to book myself on the sleeper coach to Nashik at 5:30. It's now just a little before 9 p.m. and I've been sat on a curbside somewhere towards the end of Hyderabad now for about 4 hours. The fella from the small travel agent I bought the ticket from has popped along twice now on his scooter to tell me that the coach is still coming and will be here no later than 10:30 p.m. For now, I'm going to have another chai and see what happens. Well, that really was the longest night. After a 6-hour wait, the coach finally rocked up about 11 o'clock, but I've got a bed, which I'm lying on now, right at the back of the coach, over the non-existent suspension. So I didn't get much kit. I made a comfort break in the middle of the night, but a stop with non-existent facilities. Definitely going to fold this journey away under the I'll laugh about it one day, I suppose. So at 20 to 3, we've just arrived in Nashik. Should have arrived at 8 o'clock this morning. But hey, we're here and the adventure continues. So it's just before 7 o'clock on Saturday morning. I'm here in Surat, just having my first chai of the day from a little stall on a roundabout where I'm waiting, hopefully, for a minibus. Not any old minibus, that minibus hopefully will take me to India's only roll-on, roll-off ferry, which will take me from Surat over the water to Bhavnagar, not far from Rajkot. Minibus should be in about 15 minutes, so fingers crossed I'll be all aboard and setting sail in about an hour's time. So I'm on board the ferry now, and first impressions are very much like a cross-channel ferry, except maybe you replace the beer and chips with chai and samosa. Well, if you're thinking about coming on deck on this ferry to enjoy the view and maybe contemplate life, enjoy the disco. So another early start. I'm now Palitana bus stand, waiting to get the, I think 5:15 in the morning, really not sure why, bus to Rajkot, the last bus leg of my journey, of this fantastic journey across India. It's going to be about a 4-hour ride, so hopefully arrive in Rajkot before it gets too hot and enjoy the most of another glorious Gujarat sunrise. So after about 2,000 kilometres involving, let me think, trains, coaches, buses, minibus and a ferry, I've made it to the slightly chaotic but wonderfully named Rajkot Busport. Alongside me I've got Pritik, we're a chai stall near the Busport. Pritik, first of all, what do you think of the series so far?
I think the series has gone great. Earlier, we didn't think that England will give this kind of a fight, assuming that Indians will prepare a rank turner. But that's not the case. England is fighting back with the spinners, and it's going great, I think.
Now, we heard over the last few days there's going to be no Virat Kohli for the rest of this series. How do you think a lot of Indian supporters feel about that?
Oh, well, with Virat Kohli in the team, there's always entertainment guaranteed. So I guess India will resort to sending love letters to England. Well, with Kohli, it's like, there's entertainment, there's fights, and we love that kind of entertainment. We are Bollywood family, so we love. But even without Kohli, India is a very strong side.
And looking forward to the rest of the series. 5 test series, 3 to go. Let's have your prediction for the series score.
I would love it to be 4-1.
That's lovely. Thanks for joining me. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
That was the Test Match special statistician Phil Long